Welcome back to the Motorcyclist Podcast. This is where we talk about motorcycles and what makes them great. The topics on the show are constantly changing, but the one thing that always remains is two-wheeled fun. On this episode, we're going to talk about three-wheeled motorcycles. Interestingly enough, that covers quite a few designs and models. And we're going to talk about those models, the thoughts behind them, what they're like to ride, and if they should actually be in the same world as two-wheeled motorcycles, and are they really motorcycles? So before we get into it, I've got to make some introductions. We've got Adam Waheed, editor of Motorcyclist. We've got our associate editor, Evan Allen, first time on the show. And you've got myself, executive editor, Justin Dawes. So Evan is the host of On Two Wheels at the moment, and he is working on some really cool series. So Evan, tell us what you're working on for On Two Wheels, and where your journey in motorcycle journalist started.
So On Two Wheels has been good. It's been super successful for the channel. There's been a few different hosts throughout the years, but yeah, I'm the most current host. I've done 2 episodes. We're working on a 3rd right now. And they're super fun, just kind of quirky ways to compare motorcycles or talk about a certain subject in motorcycling. And yeah, they're fun to shoot, and it seems like they're fun to watch because people have been enjoying them. Mm-hmm. And then my motorcycle journalist journey started probably 2018, doing stuff for Dirt Rider, one of the other brands in the...
What year were you born?
97.
Okay, so it started in 97.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, my motorcycle journey. Okay, yeah.
Well, in your journalism, in a way, Evan's dad is Jeff Allen, who you've seen on the show. He is our photographer. So Evan is Jeff's son. So he's been groomed for this for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been good.
So let's get back to 2018.
Yeah, so 2018. I started riding bikes. I had a 50s as a kid, and then kind of took a long break and bought a DRZ 400 after high school, and just started riding with guys from the office, my dad, other people, and then Sean Klinger and Andrew Oldar at Dirt Rider. I was out riding dirt bikes with them, and they had a spare test bike, and did a photo model shoot for them, and then sent them some notes, and I guess I did a good enough job, and they kept calling. And then I started getting on street bikes later that year for Cycle World, just photo shoots and stuff like that. And then I was lucky enough to be brought on staff in beginning of 2022. So and it's really just been taken off from there. And I love anything with wheels and a motor. So it's been great. 2 wheels, 3 wheels. I've spent some time on Riker Rally, and
cool.
Living the dream.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you. Evan's our youngest member on the staff and brings some youth that the gray hairs like me and Waheed have lost over the years. Right, Heed? Every year we get more and more gray.
I think you have a little more gray in your beard than I do, though.
Yeah, this is true. I'm a little bit older than you too. But I remember when Waheed and I started in this game, neither of us had gray hair.
There's no gray hair.
We were in our 20s. Mm-hmm. We were in our 20s, so we were Evan's age. So it goes by like that, Evan. Like a snap. You're gonna look like us. Sorry,
I'm gonna have gray hair.
Yeah. Yep. So
or no hair.
Or no hair.
Jeans are bad.
Yeah.
I'll take gray hair.
Yeah. So, as always, before we get started, we'd like to talk about what the crew's been riding this week. And since Evan, you're the guest of honor here, let's talk about what have you been riding recently, especially maybe this week?
This week haven't been on really anything. It's just been raining a lot. But over the past 2 weeks, I spent a good amount of time riding a Husqvarna FE 350S Dual Sport. Spent a lot of time on the Husqvarna Viplin 801 that's been getting passed around the office. And then last week I went on a press event for the 2025 Kawasaki Versys 1100 SE-LT. And so that was fun. We spent 2 days riding down into Baja, California, and it was a good time. I was really impressed with the bike. Admittedly, going into it, Kawasaki, they have a lot of good models, but nothing really stands out in any particular category. And I hadn't been on a big Versys. I've only been on the 650, and so yeah, I was really surprised with just having an inline four under me. Like I don't get to spend a lot of time on inline four, so just bringing that thing out. It's got an amazing quick shifter, so just running through the gearbox, and it's super comfortable because the ride we did mostly highway and freeway stuff, and so just cruise control, heated grips, and yeah.
So you went from the Kawasaki offices in Foothill Ranch, California, and then all the way down into like a winery area in Baja, spent the night, and then rode back up, right? And that was the press launch. So how was it like? How was it crossing the border with all those motorcycles in a big group?
It was. I've done it before, so I wasn't too worried. It definitely seemed like some of the Cowie PR people were a little more stressed, maybe having to be responsible for everyone and bikes and stuff, but it was super easy. We rode there was no traffic getting in. We went and got our passports stamped and stuff, and then just worked our way through Tijuana, did some photo passes in Rosarito, and then we went to Valle de Guadalupe, I think it's how it's pronounced. It's near Ensenada, like a wine country, and stayed at this amazing place called the Banyan Tree. And it was great. I've been down in Baja since we went last year for the V-Strom project. So it was nice to get down there, have some tacos, and yeah.
You gotta get Baja in your system every once in a while if you're a SoCal motorcycle rider. If you don't, you're just messing up.
Mm-hmm.
So
doing it wrong.
What about you, Heed? What have you been riding?
I've been riding BMW's awesome 2025 R1300 GS adventure bike. So new white variation with the electronic suspension, which is something I haven't tried out yet. And it's awesome. I mean, I just love that bike. Every time I ride that bike, I'm just like, gosh, can they get any better? And they can't. Or they will here in a few years, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but
they will. They always seem to do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I would say that like the GS always got better over the years, but it did get like kind of porky. You know what I mean? And it was getting bigger and bigger and bulkier. And I'm really happy that they slimmed it down with the 1300. And I think they gained a lot of ground that they were starting to lose with some of the like more sportier, more off-road capable adventure bikes that, they were giving up some performance in places, and they got a lot of that back. And so, that bike's amazing. It really is.
It's just awesome. Like every time I ride it, it's like, that bike, the MSRP on this particular white variation is, $29,000, dollars. And it's like double the price of an 890 Adventure R, which I've been riding a lot lately. And sometimes you're like, is it really worth double the price? And the answer is, it is absolutely worth double the price. Yes.
Yeah. And it's a different customer anyways. So, it
is a fully different customer.
It's a fully different customer. And, you get a lot of people that go, I would never pay $30,000 for that bike when I can go buy an 890R for $16,000 or whatever it is. And that's right. You wouldn't. And that's fine.
For sure.
That's not what you're shopping for. But there are people that are shopping for something like the GS that is the price makes sense for them. And so,
and to be fair, if I was looking for a bike I really wanted to thrash on and didn't really care if I dropped it or it got messed up, for sure I'd buy the KTM, no problem. But for those who really want that regal experience, that do-it-all regal experience, something that they can own for a long time and really take care of, and pride and ownership, and knowing that it's going to look as good as it was on, 5 years from day number one, that BMW is a solid choice, where the KTM's going to look a little more haggard. But again, it's half the price. So
exactly.
Whatever.
I mean, the KTM, like you said in the last episode, a lot of plastic on the KTM.
Yes.
A lot of, there's no paint, like there's no paint on the bike besides maybe the frame, where, the BMW has quality, nice, shiny finishes. And, it's a different customer, and that is cool. That's what's cool about motorcycling, is that there's something kind of for everyone out there. And, so I totally back the R1300 GS. Totally. It's still one of the greats. So, myself, kind of same story as usual. I've been sitting behind the desk, riding the Pine, working my butt off, keeping the websites moving. But I did get out on Sunday, rode some more hard enduro in the jungle, and it was great. It was really hot. Went through almost a gallon of water in the 6 or 7 hours that we were riding. So, but really good ride, really tough, and it's good. Hopefully it keeps me young-ish,
And
How
that's
long
a
was your-
KTM.
Sorry,
the
go ahead.
Evan.
Oh yeah, that's a KTM you have, right? A 350.
Yeah, 350.
Nice.
Here they call it an XCFW, but it's
Mm.
really an EXE, but sort of because it has a plate and doesn't have turn signals and stuff on it. So I guess it's kind of like in between. So anyway, it's
And
a great.
How long was your ride for?
We did like 7 or 8 hours this time.
Wow, so
but
that's a long ride.
mileage, yeah, mileage was maybe 40 or 50 miles.
And the fuel tank has that capacity to ride that long?
Yeah, the fuel tank can go probably 90-ish miles if you're at a speed above 30 to 40 miles an hour. But in the hard enduro stuff, I would say that it would maybe make 50 to 60 miles, and then it's going to be empty, because you're just running high RPMs in first and second gear and climbing hills, and you're burning a lot of gas and not going very far when you're burning gas like that. But it's super fun. Lots of workout. It's good for the cardio for sure, trying to get through all this stuff. We went down this one road that was just rocks and rocks and rocks, just all cobbled, and it was like a section of what's the Erzberg with all the rocks, Carl's Diner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was like that, where we just rode for a half hour just over rocks like that, just so really fun, really, really fun. But
it's difficult when it takes 8 hours to do 40 miles. It's not easy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we did stop and chill. We soaked in a river for a little while, and stopped in one little town and got a little bite to eat, and but still super rad. So anyway, well, let's get into three-wheelers. But before, one more thing we got to ask is for your comments. Let's hear about it. Let's see what you think about three-wheelers. Put your comments, what you think of three-wheelers now, and then come back after you watch this podcast and see if we've changed our mind or if you still have the same opinion or whatever. So let's have your initial impressions right now, and then let's hear from you again in about 40 minutes from now. So we loved it. We love the comments. Give us a thumbs up if you like what we're doing. Subscribe, all that good stuff. So let's get into it. Three-wheelers. Three-wheelers are technically motorcycles in many, many states. So that's why they fall into our view of things, right? We've all ridden three-wheelers of different brands and things, but let's talk about some of we're going to talk about manufacturers, what they've got going on, each manufacturer, how they've tackled the three-wheeler shape, and then we'll talk basically about the models, and then some of our impressions that we have ourselves of riding them. So I think right off the bat you have to talk about Can-Am, right?
Yeah.
They have been doing the Spider line for quite a long time, and they do it with 2 wheels in the front and 1 wheel in the back, and the power goes to the back wheel. So it's kind of like a street snowmobile in a way, right?
Yeah.
So they, but the controls are motorcycle controls. You've got handlebars, you've got a front brake, you've got a foot brake, but the shifting is different. You have paddle shifting, they have automatics, they have one model that's a CVT. So let's talk about first the Spider. I know, Adam, you've ridden the Spider before. You have some I've ridden them. I think, Evan, you've ridden the Riker, but not the Spider.
Yeah, I've been on the Riker, two Rikers. both rallies. Yeah.
So let's talk about the Spider first. So it's got a 1333cc Rotax triple engine. It's gonna make like 115 horsepower, 6-speed transmission. That we said you can shift manually if you want. And they have two models. They have a R3 and they have the RT. The F3 and the RT. The F3 is kind of like got a cruiserish foot position where your feet are kind of out in front of you. So we'll say forward controls. And then the RT is more upright and it's kind of a tourer. So when was the last time you rode one, Adam?
The last time we operated one was, I was just actually looking today, it was for the 2022 model year. It was the Can-Am Spider RT Sky Edition, something Sky Edition. It was their up-spec model, almost creme de la creme, not quite the most expensive one, but very near the top. And yeah, it was nice. I mean, it was nice, crazy comfortable. If I recall, the standout feature of that vehicle was the stereo system, if you can believe it. The stereo is probably one of the best stereo systems on any power sports vehicle we had ever operated at the time. The new Harley-Davidson CVO Road Glide with its accessory stereo system, that actually surpasses the Can-Am system. But at the time for 2022, it was easily the best sound system, which is cool, for people who really want to have really nice sounding tunes when they're riding their touring three-wheeled motorcycle.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that they pack onto those bikes, especially in the RTs. Like you said, like yours was the Skyline. I think I rode one very similar with, bags, top case, cushy place for the passenger, stereo, all that stuff. And it makes a really nice kind of comfortable ride. Last time I rode one was 2023. I went with Can-Am to Austria and rode what was called the Grossglockner Challenge. So it's there's a road called the Grossglockner that goes through the Alps of Austria, and then goes up to a station high above a glacier. And we went in the summertime. It was like, I think June or July. And when we got up to the glacier, it was actually, there was snow on the ground and it was raining on the way up. And it was kind of like, oh, it's cool. Like I've got like 3 wheels to get more traction, and you've got a wide contact patch on 3 wheels instead of a motorcycle contact patch, which was cool, whatever. But it was like, this is, it is whatever. But on the way down, it started snowing and the road like iced up in June. And there was like 3 or 4 adventure bikes that were like crashed out on the ice as we were going down. And because we had that, that wide, stable platform, it's just like, okay, when we made it down, no problem. So I would say, like, as a touring mount, they're pretty rad. I mean, like, yes, they're not a motorcycle, right? They ride totally different. And so let's talk about that as a whole for Can-Am 3-wheelers, Spider, Riker, Canyon, how different they are to ride. Like Evan, like they're not like a motorcycle.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, like you mentioned, some of the controls feel like a motorcycle, and you sit, at least on the Riker, the way you sit on it, it feels like a motorcycle. But to me, it feels really more like almost a quad, or like you mentioned, like a street snowmobile. And because you don't lean, you really turn by pushing the handlebar, and yeah, we rode it in the dirt. There's things I really liked about it, and then things that I didn't love about it. Not being able to lean is kind of what we love as motorcyclists, is having that ability to lean from side to side. But and then on the pavement, it's really hard to steer the thing. It fights you. It kind of has understeer. But then when you get it in the dirt, it was really a lot of fun. Just almost like a quad. You can slide the thing around, and yeah, it's a total different experience. But I think, yeah, like when we did the last review, I ended with "Don't knock it till you try it," and they probably won't replace your motorcycle, but you'll have a lot of fun on them for sure.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Heed? What do you like and maybe dislike about riding a Can-Am?
Well, I like how comfortable you are. You can't refute the level of comfort. It's basically like you're sitting on a really comfortable, sofa chair. So they're really comfortable. melt away miles with ease. Sort of, with the three-wheel configuration, sometimes when you hit bumps, if you hit them with...
Well, I know what he was going to say, so I'll jump in. When you hit the bumps, it does kind of hunt, and it searches, and it can kind of like want to go a little left, a little right, a little left, a little right, and so you have to like learn to like kind of let that go a little bit and let it do its thing. And then the shimmy, like if you fight it, it makes it actually worse. So you learn to like kind of just chill out, let it do its thing, hunting in the front end, and then then it gets chill, So I, like you said, it's comfortable. There's lots of wind protection, and I really like it for touring, especially in variable weather where you may get gnarly in the snow. You know what I mean? So
yeah, totally.
I really like that. But now they've got a new one coming out, and I think it's already out. It's called the Canyon, and that thing
I've
is
seen that.
pretty cool looking, right?
Yeah,
so I've given Evan an assignment to go ride one. So tell everyone what a Canyon is.
Yeah, it looks. I don't know. Actually, is it an all new platform for them, or is it based off the Riker platform? Or
No,
the
I think
Spiders?
I think it's
sure.
quite different. I think it's a little bit different. Yeah. So it's got some like KYB smart shocks on it, and it's like lifted up.
Yeah,
right?
It kind of looks like almost like a Forerunner Jeep of a three-wheeler. Like totally, like it's pretty utility looking, and yeah, pretty tough, and it's got storage, and yeah, it looks like perfect for loading up some camping gear or fishing equipment, and yeah, get off the beaten path, and
yeah, I would say it's an adventure three-wheeler, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
you can get like one with like street tires, and then you can get it all the way up to like, I think the most expensive one is like $32,000. So it's in the price range of an R1300 GS, right? But it has like the same kind of bags on it. It's got the aluminum top case and the side cases and chunky tires and all these things to go like off-roading, and it seems like it'd be a fun little mount to go up in the mountains and kind of get lost and do some camping off of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. It almost reminds me of a buddy who's got one of those. I think it's a Sea-Doo that's made for fishing, where you've got all this extra space. It kind of reminds me of that.
Well, it's from the same company. Yeah, it's from the same company, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I think they've really have embraced as a company as a whole, like you said, like they got the Sea-Doo that's got like the tackle, the bait box on it, and the place for pole holders, and all this stuff to go adventuring with the thing and do some big rides. And it's the same thing. I think they're doing that across like their whole product line. I think they were probably even doing snowmobiles, but I don't know anything about snowmobiles. It's too cold for me. I don't like being cold, so I don't pay much attention to snowmobiles. But I think overall, like, Can-Ams, like Evan said, don't knock them till you try them. They have their pluses and their minuses. It's a totally unique riding experience. And it's we should say this about most of the three-wheeled vehicles here. It allows people that maybe aren't comfortable with riding a two-wheeled vehicle get that experience of riding like a motorcycle, right? It gets you out in the air, and you're doing the thing in it's as close as maybe they can get to riding a motorcycle. And so that's a really nice setup to do, so
yeah, totally. The more the merrier.
The more the merrier, man.
Yeah,
like
get people out.
The more money spent in power sports, the better for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We want to keep it going. And, there's people that maybe they've had an injury to themselves where they just can't ride a motorcycle anymore. And this allows them to still be out and doing the thing. So,
yeah, like they say, with age comes a cage, but maybe go from get the three-wheeler. You don't need a cage, just an additional wheel.
An additional wheel, yeah, exactly. So, so let's talk about HD's trikes. Has any of you ridden in a Harley-Davidson trike? You've had to have ridden one.
No? I'm not. No.
I have not either.
No.
So we are coming from a place of, I guess, ignorance. I've had editors go ride Harley's trikes. So Harley's trikes, they go the opposite of Can-Am. So we're talking one wheel in the front, two wheels in the back. Power goes to the rear wheels through a differential. But it's got a their trike range runs 114 cubic inch Milwaukee 8 engines, and they match the styling of the Harleys that they have now. You know what I mean? Like, so there's 3 models. There's the freewheeler, that's like the cruiser. You know, it doesn't have a screen or anything in front of it. It's very, we'll say maybe it's a like bobbish, you know, type of bike. And then you've got the Road Glide 3, which looks like a Road Glide. I mean, it's got the shark, what do they call that? The shark nose fairing on it and all that stuff. And it's got, you know, the stereo and all the good stuff. And then you've got a Tri-Glide Ultra, which has a Batwing fairing like a Street Glide. So that turns with the front tire. And then it's got a top box and extra storage in the back. And it's like fully done for touring. And that thing looks supremely comfortable, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I had a neighbor that had one. It was
Oh, really?
This was probably maybe 2016 or something. So I don't know what model it was, but older couple that would, yeah, just like you said, him and his wife would go on rides and take it out for the weekend, load up the bags, and yeah,
Mhm.
and kind of just like with the Riker or the Can-Ams, it's cool to see just getting out, traveling on something other than a car, an automobile.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And the cool part about all the Harleys is you're still having to shift them. They're not automatics. So you have all the normal motorcycle controls. So like if you're used to riding a motorcycle, you can easily operate the trike, right? And they make all the Harley-Davidson sounds. And they have all the Harley-Davidson paint and colors and finishes and all that. So you know, I think they look cool. I'd like to give one a go. So maybe I'll hit up Harley and say get my hands on one.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Out of the 3, which one do you think would you want to do? Like the Tri-Glide, like full touring, or should we go like freewheeler, like the most bare bones?
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely like the idea of a freewheeler
Yeah.
being a little bit lighter and maybe sporty and let the tire
Yeah.
break loose a little. But I think it'd be hard not to want to get on the Tri-Glide, and especially if you have a spouse or a partner or something, and kind of just
Yeah.
let
For
him
sure.
fall asleep on the back. It looks like
Dude.
a lazy boy back there.
Yeah,
Just take a nap.
When I went to Austria on that Can-Am, my wife actually fell asleep on the back, and I had her holding the GoPro. Like she had like the selfie stick, and I was like, yeah, like aiming at stuff as we're riding by. And I look back, and she's falling asleep, and she's almost let go of the GoPro. Like she's like, and I was like, hey, wake up, you know. And she's like, oh, what? And I'm like, you almost dropped the GoPro. And she's like, no, I didn't. And I was like, okay, you didn't. Sure. Yes, dear.
Yeah.
So I could see the same thing happening with the Tri-Glide, like being so comfy that your passenger might just take a nap and you'd still be riding on your own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So let's talk about, I want to talk about 3-wheeled motorcycles that technically, yes, they're 3-wheeled motorcycles. Other places they're called autocycles, but they're not really motorcycles at all. And those are Polaris's Slingshot, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's a car to me. It seems more like a car.
yeah. What about you, Heed? What's your initial hot take on those things?
They're okay. Yeah, the 3-wheel autocycles are okay. It just kind of depends on the kind of person you are. You know, I don't know. They're not really my cup of tea, but I could see why people would want them. You know, if you're looking for something really flashy that's going to stand out for maybe not a lot of money. Of course, it's not going to be probably as good as the thing that's expensive and flashy and stands out. But, you know, I could see someone in Miami Beach rolling up on that and it being kind of cool. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I've driven them. I've had fun in them. But I'm also torn, and I will say they're not a motorcycle for in the truest sense. I mean, legally, sure, but in reality, they have a steering wheel, they have a gas pedal, you know, they have a brake pedal. So, and you sit side by side, they have a seat belt, you know, all these things that but in a lot of states, you actually still have to wear helmets because it is technically a motorcycle. So, which is good because they usually don't have a windshield on them. There are some with like half shields and shields, but if you don't have that, you want to be wearing a helmet anyways because you're just going to get smacked in the face with bugs and road grime and stuff. But
yeah, and no airbags too, right? I don't think
no
do they have
airbags. Yeah,
yeah,
no, because they're a motorcycle, so they get around all of that stuff that bumpers and crash protection, like crumple zones and all that stuff. Nope, not up.
Yeah.
So let's describe a slingshot. So if you're looking at it from the front, it looks like a sports car. You look at it from the back, it has a single wide tire in the back, belt driven, and it looks pretty much like I don't even know, like a spaceship,
Yeah.
They right now the Slingshot is powered by a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, and you can get it in automatic transmission or what they call auto drive, which is a shiftable automatic transmission. And they vary in price from like 25 to 40 grand depending on what model you get. But for me, like, they're rad for spinning donuts. Like, I don't think any press unit Slingshot I've given back has come back with a good rear tire. That's for sure.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I rode one for photos. It was years ago. It was probably pre-COVID, but same thing. Like, out of all the 3-wheeled vehicles I've been on, that one was the most fun because, like you said, just whether it's doing donuts or pulling away from a light, because you have this one we had was manual, and just you grab like second and third gear, and the whole time it's just fishtailing and leaving a rubber mark down on the road. Like, it was. I had so much fun when I rode or drove that thing.
Yeah, they're and like Keith said, like, they're pretty flash, and they get people's attention, and they look sporty, and they look crazy, and it's a unique experience that it's like it's part car, part UTV, part motorcycle. Like, it combines a lot of things together in a way that is absolutely pretty unique. I mean, in terms of like a fully finished large production run of 3-wheelers, right? So there are other 3-wheeled machines that are kind of similar. Like, I think Slingshot basically took the formula of the T-Rex. Don't know if you guys remember the T-Rex, 3-wheeled thing, rear-wheel drive. I think for a while they were using like Hayabusa engines in them, so they were like super fast and gnarly, and they were real low slung to the ground and real sporty and flashy, and they still sell them, but they've got a different engine in them now, and I think they're like 65 grand. Like, they're not.
Dang. That steep.
They're pretty gnarly. So I've never gotten an opportunity to drive one. I've only seen them. I've heard them. So I can't comment on them, but I have driven the Vanderhall. Adam, you've driven a Vanderhall. It's also 3 in the front, 1 in the back, side by side seating, but it's like a fancy Slingshot, right? It looks like it's got styling like an old Chris Craft boat. Like, it's it's all beautiful paint and this really cool kind of streamlined shape with the tires out in the front, and it's got like leather seats, and it's just kind of like fancy. You know?
Yeah, it looks like it's ready for cars and coffee.
Yeah,
the interior's nice. Yeah, like people might hate me for saying this, but it reminds me like a little bit, just first glimpse of like a vintage Porsche or something. Just it just has that like that classic.
It's kind of the Morgan, or the modern take on a Morgan 3-wheeler, which was powered by a V-twin, an S&S V-twin in the front, wheels, 2 wheels in the front, 1 on the back, but very much the same kind of styling, kind of retro-ish, but just kind of clean and cool looking. And the Vanderhall has a turbocharged engine. The engine's in the front, and it's front wheel drive, so no spinning donuts in it, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But it's still, it was really fun to drive because of the turbo, made nice noises, and it just felt special. You know what I mean? Like, we'll put it this way. I brought a Slingshot home. My wife wanted nothing to do with it. She didn't want to get in it. She thought the thing was ridiculous looking and stupid, and I will not be caught dead in that thing. And it wasn't a month and a half later, I brought home a Vanderhall, and she wanted to go to dinner every night that I had it. So there you go. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. When we had one of those the Slingshots, because I loved them. I love driving them, but same thing. I was pretty reluctant to put my visor up at stoplights because there's so many people looking at you. And I was a little embarrassed, but I was like the Stig. You don't know my identity.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
There's another thing that's the problem with the Slingshots and kind of the three-wheel vehicles is they do command a lot of attention, and so you want to screw around and you want to be a hooligan because they're fun to poon around, but man, like, everyone's watching you, so it's hard to have a good time with them.
Yeah. Yeah, and
they're staring at you too, so you gotta really mind your manners.
You gotta mind your manners for sure. And every
policeman,
every policeman that sees you, or if you're around a policeman, they're going to see you. So you just can't get loose, So
yeah.
But overall, they're fun machines. But we'll talk about it in a little bit. If we're gonna at the end of this, we're gonna rate all these three-wheelers if they're really motorcycles or not. So, what about? It's my personal favorite. So you guys probably know. So I'll let you say it because you know what my personal three-wheeled favorite machine is, right?
Ural.
You love the Eastern European, Western Russian vehicles.
Yes. I love the Ural. So used to be Russian. Now it's built in Kazakhstan. During the Ukrainian thing, they had to move out of Russia in order to sell their vehicles around the world. So they moved to Kazakhstan. But it's a sidecar. It's a true sidecar motorcycle. So it is a motorcycle, definitely. Two wheels in a line, one off to the side with a car. And, it's an air-cooled boxer engine. Now it's fuel injected. 750 cc's, 44 horsepower, does not make a lot of power, does not go fast. And you can get them in two-wheel drive, which is super cool. So like when we were talking about like, oh, you don't want to be in the ice and this or that or whatever, those things will go anywhere. Mud, ice, off-road, whatever. Super fun, but a completely different experience than any of these other vehicles because it's asymmetrical. The handling is asymmetrical, right? So, Heath, have you ever ridden one?
I haven't ridden one, and I always appreciated your affinity for them, and to be honest, they look kind of cool. They have this like nostalgic vibe to them almost, and the fact that they were made in the former Soviet Union, now Kazakhstan, that kind of adds to the old ancient allure of them. And yeah, I think they're neat, and when you used to cruise around with your dog, RIP to your dog, that was just cool. Like that's a great way to like bring your significant other or animal with you and experience the thrills of power sports riding. It's cool.
Yeah. Or kids. I remember my dad.
Or kids. Yeah, or kids.
He
totally.
would take us to school and fly the car. And yeah, it was so much fun. And like you said, the nostalgia, I always think of, I can't remember which Indiana Jones it is, maybe The Last Crusade, or where his dad's in it. And there's like a scene where he's like, they have to run away from the bad guys on a sidecar. And like you said, how they're a motorcycle, I think to be a little bit quicker, they like movie style take off the sidecar and turn it into a motorcycle and take off. But
yeah.
Cool.
The affinity I have, obviously, it comes from the quirkiness, the being totally different and strange, and they don't do anything fast. They're not powerful. They have a 4-speed transmission in them. So I mean, if you're going 80, you are well on the way to blowing the thing to bits. So you cruise down, everything just takes longer to do because one, you don't ride as fast. You cruise around the corners because one way the front end pushes, the other way you can you can lift the car and then it wants to kind of flip over. So you have to be careful of that. But you also have everywhere you stop, someone wants to talk and ask you about it. And they always go, "Oh, how old is that thing?" And you're like, it's a 2023 or 24 or whatever, because they're still making them, and they run about, 18 to 20 grand for the 2-wheel drive gear up model. So they're not inexpensive, but they have other models too that are, non 2-wheel drive that are more affordable, and they're just, I love them, man. I think too, I have lots of good memories with my dog in them. So it was her favorite thing to do in the world, and it showed. Like, we did a lot of photo shoots with her. Anytime I reviewed a Ural, she was right along there with me, and they enjoyed her photos. And so there was other times they just gave us Urals to ride with no promise of a review or anything. Just like, we just love to see photos and your dog and the thing. So really cool, but they're just really fun motorcycles to ride, and it's such a neat experience riding those things over everything because of the old feeling. Like, if you want a feeling of a vintage motorcycle, there's nothing more vintage feeling than a Ural.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's like because I've been in one. I've definitely been in one. I remember riding one briefly, probably when you had one, because I tried flying the car. I couldn't figure it out, but yeah, it's like a tractor. Like, it feels, like trusty as a hammer, and just like you said, you can go just about anywhere. You're not going to get there very quickly, but that thing, put it in first gear, it just chugs along. Like, it's super cool.
Yeah, flying the car. You keep saying flying the car, so we should explain what that is. So, obviously, you have one wheel on the right side of the bike, and you have 2 wheels on the left side of the bike. So when you're going left, you have a wheel out in front of you that is taking the most load, off to the side, and that kind of takes some weight off of the front tire and rear tire, and so it kind of like pushes. But then when you go the other way, you have 2 tires versus the 1 tire on the inside, and all that weight shifts over into a line, and it wants to pick up the inside wheel or the sidecar. And so what you can do is, if you get used to it, you can basically kind of throw it into a right hand turn, and that lifts the wheel, and then you can straighten the thing out and balance the thing with the sidecar in the air, and they call it flying the car. And it's an effective way to get around on it, to get around corners and stuff if you get used to it. So, and it looks cool.
Yeah. So that's the fastest way to corner a side or
no,
to the right?
It's not quite the fastest, but it's a fun way to do it for sure.
Most fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
I have a question for you guys. So we talked about these 5 different 3-wheel motorcycles and autocycles. Who do you think these things are necessarily for? I know we kind of talked about it a little bit, but like, what is the BRPs, Spider RT and Spider Riker? Who do you think that's for? Who's buying those things in America?
I'm going to say that it's all types. I think it's people that are motorcycle curious, that it maybe don't have the skill or are afraid of riding a 2-wheel vehicle, but still want that motorcycle riding experience first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm sure I can imagine there's plenty of people out there that see motorcycles out on the road and think, I want to do that, but maybe they've never even ridden a bicycle, as crazy as that might sound. And so, like, that right there, they're like, I can't even ride a bicycle. How am I going to get on a motorcycle? And then, but they're like, wait, I can do that. Like, so yeah.
What about you, Heed? What do you see for people with Can-Ams? Like, who are they?
I don't know. I think a lot of people are just people who don't want to. I know it sounds strange, but people who don't want to do the balancing act on a 2-wheel vehicle. I know, again, it sounds strange, but some people aren't. They have balance issues for whatever reason, but they still want that wind in the hair feeling, but they don't necessarily want to drive a convertible type 4-wheel car. And then you have people, that are getting a little bit older and less mobile. Maybe they have some physical ailments that doesn't allow them the dexterity in their feet or ankles or legs to shift gears and, straddle a motorcycle. And they want something that's just a little bit more easy to operate, even though you could make an argument for whether those things are easier to operate than a motorcycle. But I kind of see it for for that, and that's the cool thing about the three-wheeled motorcycle and autocycle categories. It's allowing everyday folks to enjoy, a power sports-esque type feel, in something that they can be comfortable with,
Very much so,
Yeah.
and obviously, like you said, people that maybe have limited use or no use to their lower extremities or whatever, like, that's a great vehicle for that, because all the controls are at your hands for the most part. You have your brakes and you have your shifting and all that stuff. So, I think it opens the door for people that are motorcycle curious, that want a motorcycle experience, but will never ever have the want or need to ride a motorcycle and everything in between. So, and like you can get your motorcycle license on a Can-Am. Like you can go to Can-Am has motorcycle training where you can go on a Can-Am and do all the things and go through the experience of learning how to ride and getting your motorcycle license. And maybe that's the first step to then getting into a balanced machine or not. There's a huge community of Can-Am riders. Like when I went on that Grossglockner thing, it was hundreds of people on this ride. And,
Wow.
If you didn't see the parking lot full of Can-Ams, you would just think you're at a motorcycle event. Everyone's wearing riding gear and everyone's talking about the rides they went on. And they're talking about their luggage and they're talking about their Farkles and all the, I put this GPS on, or I put that on, or I put this on. And the conversations are exactly the same. So they are motorcyclists. They're the same people as the people that ride two wheels like us. They're exactly the same people, in my opinion. Same type of people. And so like, if I'm on a ride and I see a Can-Am coming my way, I still wave at him. Like, I'm like, yo, what's up? Because to me, same people.
Yeah, I do too. Some people don't. Jeff Allen, your father, he does not wave at those people for whatever reason, and it always just blows me away. But it's all good.
Yeah. No, that doesn't surprise me. You tell me that. It's a hater.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, like I think it's cool. It's kind of, you can just put one foot into motorcycling if you're not ready to jump all the way in, and and just
and there's states that if you have a three-wheeler, you extend your riding time, right?
Yeah,
there's places in the world where it's cold and it's icy and it's wet. It's I think it's no coincidence that Can-Am is from Canada. BRP is Canadian because their riding window is so small for motorcycles. Dude, you have a Can-Am, you can ride a lot more. Right?
Yeah, and it seems like you see more of those kind of vehicles, on the East Coast generally. The East Coast has a little bit more of those vehicles than the West Coast. So, East Coast riding season generally may be a little bit shorter than the West Coast, So maybe that plays a factor into it.
Yeah, totally. I think it opens up a longer riding. Okay, so that's Can-Ams. I think we can put Harley trikes in that same exact boat. I think that everything we say about the Can-Am is the same for the Harley. It's just the wheels are opposite. Same maybe with the Ural. I think it's the same thing. But what about the several hundred half-ton elephant in the room or whatever they may weigh? I think they weigh like 1,200, 1,600 pounds or something. The Slingshot. Is it a motorcycle? Who's it for?
Show-offs.
Yeah.
Show-offs.
The flashy type.
Yeah, just show-offs. People who want a Ferrari but can't afford a Ferrari.
Ouch, man. I would say, there is a large part of the people that definitely are looking for something that's flashy and sporty, but they're not going to buy a sports car. They don't have the funds for it. Maybe the insurance is too much. Who knows? Whatever. And this scratches that itch, for a lot less coin than something like that. But and I think there's other people that just maybe they have every other toy in the world, right? They have a motorcycle, they have a boat, they have a jet ski, they have a four-wheeler. Hey, why not get a Slingshot? And I can't deny, like, every time I've driven one, I've had fun. So
Yeah.
Absolutely, they're fun to do. They're just, it's not the same experience as riding a motorcycle.
Yeah. Or driving a car. Yeah. Like if
Mhm.
I was super rich and I could have all the toys, I definitely would have a slingshot. And it totally does scratch that sports car itch at a lower price, because before I got into motorcycling, I had a Subaru WRX, like an older
Mhm.
one, but still they're not cheap. And that thing was a lot of fun. But after I'd sold it, crashed it, sold it, uh, I got in a slingshot. The slingshot was way more fun because you have one tire in the back. Like you always feel like a hero, and it's yeah, I'm with you. I love those things.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind having one in my garage.
I still liked my Subaru WRX better than a Slingshot, but I had a new one that was like I don't know, it was a long time ago, 2000. I don't even know what year that thing was. 13, 14.
2005.
No, mine was like a 13 or
newer than that.
14.
Yeah,
It was newer than
yeah.
that. Yeah. So, but yeah, I still think they're fun.
Mhm.
But I think the $30,000 question is a Miata or a Slingshot. I'm probably
Oh,
buying a
yeah.
Miata.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm buying a
It's
$5,000 Miata
no-brainer.
and putting 25 grand of parts into it.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same
Yeah.
time, don't knock it till you try it. You
Mhm.
may like it, and we won't think a whole lot less of you if you get one.
And let me drive it.
Yeah, let us drive it. So the Vanderhall, is in the same boat. Just people with more coin that like fancier things. So
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
very cool. It's an experience, and you get like this nostalgic feeling of having you should be wearing a scarf and sunglasses and driving
Yeah.
gloves,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's what that's all about. But then
Yeah.
we got the Ural, which who's that for? Who's that for?
Yeah.
Just folks who want just to go on a cruise around town and have that nostalgic experience. They're not looking to get anywhere. They just want to cruise around and, just bring their significant other or friend along for a ride and just kind of cruise,
Yep.
Yeah, I think, or like maybe an older demographic. I feel like they were maybe more popular sidecars back in the day, or just like if you grew up with a grandpa that had one or something,
Oh
and
no,
just
now Evan is frozen.
yeah, I think anyone just
I
thinks
can
it's
see
so
it like
cool.
Yeah, I would say that the customer is this guy right here. It's me. And there's a lot of things you can like. There's all types, and I think there's younger people that are into them. There's older people that are into them. But they do something that maybe these others, besides maybe the Canyon Can-Am, is it's off-road capable. You can go into real places, and you've got plenty of room to put a tent, to put sleeping bags, to put clothes, and put food, and all the stuff of extra passenger. Like you can really get out and do some cool overlanding, off-roading type of stuff with that. And I think that it in a way it can be a around the world machine.
Yeah,
like
I
a
can totally
mini
see that.
Jeep,
Yeah.
a little bit.
For the
very
adventure
much so.
type. Mhm.
Yep, adventure type for sure. So, yep. So that's who they're for. Real question: are they really motorcycles? So technically, we're not denying that any of these aren't motorcycles, but in our opinion, let's start off with the Slingshot. I think we've already answered it, but Adam, motorcycle or not?
I don't think the Slingshot autocycle is a motorcycle. More like a car. More like a car for sure.
Evan?
Yeah, I agree for sure. I don't think of it as a motorcycle at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Same for me. Not a motorcycle. I think that it's interesting that Polaris is able to use motorcycle laws to be able to provide a interesting power sports vehicle. But it's like if anyone ever tells me, "Yeah, I got a motorcycle, I got a Slingshot," I'd be like, "No, you don't. Nope, no, you don't."
Yeah.
Neat story, bro.
Liar.
Yeah. So, okay, well then let's get into Can-Am and the Harley-Davidson trikes. Motorcycles?
I don't really think so. Yeah, not really.
How come? Let's hear your argument.
Oh, because a motorcycle has to be a motorcycle, so it has to be a cycle, which is two wheels. So they're just not motorcycles. I'm not hating on them. I think
No.
they're totally fine, but yeah, they're three-wheeled motorcycles. That's why they're called three-wheeled motorcycles, because they're not really motorcycles.
There you go.
So,
Yep. Okay. Evan?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a motorcycle. I know it comes from a motorcycle, but yeah, it doesn't. For me, it's got to have the ability to lean to really be considered a motorcycle. For me, like the closest three-wheeler, I think the Ural has a strong case for being a motorcycle, but for me, the only three-wheeler I've been on that really felt like a motorcycle was the Yamaha Niken.
Oh, yeah.
That one, because you'll tip over at a light if you don't put your foot down. You lean into a corner and you potentially could lose the front. Less likely, but that one very much
for sure.
is like
And we didn't talk about that
motorcycle.
one because Yamaha's not selling it anymore. So
Mhm.
I didn't add to our list, but yeah, that's a very good point. The Niken leaned like a motorcycle. You could fall over if you didn't put your foot down. You could wheelie it like a motorcycle.
Yep.
So Niken, definitely a motorcycle. For me, for Can-Ams, I will say they are spiritual motorcycles. They're in the spirit of motorcycles. They're spiritual brothers to motorcycles because they have all the controls like a motorcycle. You're out in the wind. The community is very much like a motorcycling community. I think that they are as close as you can be to a motorcycle without being a motorcycle. And so I will say, sure. Like if someone says I'm a motorcyclist and I go, oh, what do you ride? And they say, I have a Can-Am Spider, I'm not going to go like, no, you're not. I'll say, oh, cool. That's neat. That's an interesting machine. So I'll give it, for me, still a motorcycle. Yeah. But we got 2-1. So, we'll go from there. And then, of course, Ural, definitely a motorcycle. I think we would all agree that it's a motorcycle.
I agree.
It's a motorcycle with a sidecar. Can't get around it. You could take the sidecar off and ride the thing like a motorcycle, a la Indiana Jones. So, I think that's that settles that. So let's say you had $30K in your pocket and you had to buy a three-wheeled machine to put in your garage. What are you putting in there?
For me, it's an easy choice. It would be a Slingshot.
Wow.
Yeah, I would go straight for the Slingshot.
So
and it's funny talking about the Vanderhall, because I haven't been in one, or driven one, but I remember when we talked about it that they're front wheel drive, and so the Slingshot, I remember it in like driving it over Ortega and like trying to get after it. That rear wheel feels like it can break loose and spin out very easily. So that's interesting that the Vanderhall, I'm sure corners better, but just the hooligan factor of the Slingshot,
I would say the Slingshot does hustle around corners because it does have traction control, so it won't spin out. So you can really just floor it around the corners, and it has over a G lateral grip. Okay. So we're talking super sports car territory there. So, yep. Heed, what about you?
Well, if the Vanderhell was rear-wheel drive, I would pick that one. But because it's front-wheel drive, I would also go with the Slingshot. It's flashy. The fit and finish could use some improvement, but they're fun to drive for a short amount of time, and they make a statement, and they're cool.
Cool.
Slingshot.
Right on. I think it's pretty clear what I have in my garage, and that's a Ural. Absolutely. It gives you so many like retro vibes and coolness, and every time you drive it, you just laugh and you're happy and you're never in a hurry, and you can bring someone along and they're sitting next to you so you can talk to them. You can put your dog or put your goat in there, put your sheep, whatever four-legged animal you may have, put it in there. It'll probably have fun. So absolutely Ural. I will be a Ural fan till the day I die. I love the things. So for me, it's a Ural. So there you go. You've got what we think about three-wheeled motorcycles. We want to know what you think about three-wheeled motorcycles. Tell us what you would put in your garage. Let us know if you think any of these are actually motorcycles or not. And would you try one? So put them down in the comments below. Really appreciate your comments, your likes, your subscribes, all that stuff. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.